As Irena started saying, the course is testing, evaluation, and assessment. We divided our presentation into 3 segments just to really make sure that we are reviewing everything appropriately. So we will start with the testing. So we saw, learned, read about various aspects of testing, and we will briefly explain about each. So the first one is types of testing. When you hear about testing, I am sure that that most of you think of a written test, multiple choice, unseen, things like that, but we really learned about the different types of testing, written test, portfolio, projects, presentation, etc. The second part is the matching part. We learned how to match the type of task that we are choosing to our goals. I mean, if I want to assess the students' oral skills, so I will, of course, not choose a written text. I will choose a presentation and how we're supposed to do these things. We want to match the way we assess the students to the outcome that we wish to achieve in any specific instance. Now, would you like to proceed?
Sure. And then we went over how to build a test, because like everything, and I'm sure you heard about it in most of your other courses, everything needs to be gradual. There needs to be levels. There needs to be kind of a reason behind how you build things. You start with the easy kind of part, and then you gradually add to the difficulty. And a word that comes up a lot is the scaffolding. You can't just give everything as a hard question or as an easy question. There needs to be a balance, and it needs to be appropriate in the way it is built. So like we said, gradually and in a scaffolding sense. And then we have the types of tasks. So not everything is the same. You have multiple questions, you have open-ended questions, you have fill in the gaps, you have short written answers and long written answers, you have a writing essay, and you have different types of writing essays. Is it a descriptive writing? Is it a
integrated tests as well? Integrated tests.
Integrated tasks as well, exactly. And you need to choose these tasks depending on what you are trying to test. At the end of the day, it needs, like Shiraz mentioned, to match your goal. What are you trying to evaluate? And then we move on to the importance of the setting. And in this, we mean your audience. Who are you testing? Your reason why, what are you testing and why, and the social conditions of the testing situation. So again, if you're trying to, say, evaluate the skill of a person to kind of get around the train station, to read the signs, to hear the conductor, what are they supposed to do and where are they supposed to go, you can't give them an unseen. You're kind of missing the point. It's not the right setting. So these are the 3 elements that you need to take into consideration.
And I will just add to the importance of setting, which is not only what Noy talked about, but also the actual settings that the test takers have when they are performing the test. So if we perform an oral test, we need to have the correct class to do it, which is in a silent area. So we need to provide to our students the appropriate place and time to perform each and every test that we want them to have. The second part is the assessment and evaluation. We learned about various types of assessment. Some of them are presented here, such as formative versus summative assessment. When do we use each? What each of them means? Formative assessment, for those of you who do not know, is the assessment that we are conducting throughout the year, in which we use to adjust our teaching in advance. We do like it could be quizzes or like a small assessment throughout the year that helps us know in which level our students are and how to plan and design our teaching from that point on. And summative assessment is to sum up a certain unit, segment, or something that we want to have like an end. So summative assessment is really the end point of the assessment.
And then we have, do you want to keep going?
No, proceed.
Okay. The formal and informal, in that we mean, so of course the formal is the kind of standard testing where you have a time set, an assignment set, the students know what they're supposed to do, everything is structured and explained and very, very explicit ahead of time. And then you have the informal testing, which could be kind of on-the-go questions, comment the students might say, kind of the randomness of life where it's not necessarily so structured. It could also mean a portfolio or kind of not really a presentation, but kind of giving the students the place to add their own personality in it. So informal is kind of random. It could come from anywhere and is kind of more fluid than formal testing. And then we have the principles of assessment, which are kind of mixing in my head because they sound the same. The practicality, the reliability. I have a note, and authenticity, which basically come down to, can I trust the outcome of the test? Is it actually doing what I want it to do? And is it evaluating what I need to evaluate or want to identify? And is it relevant to the context? You can just give the students an assignment which you didn't teach them how to do it. It needs to be, first of all, explained, then practiced, and only afterwards be tested, because at the end of the day, you can't give them something, let's say a science quiz, when they've never learned anything from science. So,
and I will just add that all of those principles should align with each other, because the test could be very valid and reliable, but it could be very time consuming to mark and very expensive, for instance. So although you have the most reliable test on earth, but it is so time consuming and so expensive to perform, you cannot choose this test to perform on a full class of 30 students or on a full shichva, for instance. So you need to really see that all of the principles really align to have this measurable outcome to what are you testing, how can you know that the test really measures what you wish to assess, and is it really practical to conduct, both for you and for the test takers. And then we have the holistic modes.
Modes. So I'm sure you came across peer assessment in the college, but from my personal experience, I haven't come across it in school. You don't in my experience, you don't really use it outside of the teacher is assessing the students. That's basically it. But you have, so of course, the teacher assessment, the peer assessment, self-assessment as well. Like kind of like our reflections, where you look back on what you did and you evaluate, okay, this was good, this I could be better at, and on this topic I need to improve on. So everything has a reason, and you could add them to your classroom, of course, within reason. And at the end of the day, you are the teacher, but kind of adding it to the students and to the students' lives and helping them see that they have a voice. They can evaluate on their own. They can see, okay, maybe this is something I need to work on. And also this kind of realization from themselves helps them understand, okay, maybe I need to do something else, and not just saying, okay, no, the teacher did something wrong. So they can come up to this conclusion on their own, and they are more motivated to work on it.
Exactly. And finally, we have the holistic assessment versus the analytic assessment, in which the holistic really looks at all of the components in a really whole manner, versus the analytical, that you have this really tailored and fixed scale that by which you assess each and every skill on its own and gives each and every one it's a specific grade, and we learned about all of these different modes, how to use, when to use, how to know which one we prefer, etc. And finally, our takeaways. So first is the relevance to practice teaching. We need to know, we as, of course, future teachers, we need to know how to build our units, our learning units, and we need to tailor each and every unit to the class. We need to take into consideration what class is this, what is the class profile, as we learned in our last lesson. And we need, as you can see in this little graph, we have those circle that the tests are a unit from the assessment, which is a unit from the whole teaching. And we need to take all of this into consideration when we design our units. And it's we cannot proceed with our teaching without us knowing when and how we assess our students throughout the way. So it's a long-term planning, and we need to take it into consideration. And we have also done it. We managed to take some of it and really implement it in our practice teaching throughout this semester.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the connection to the curriculum. I'm sure maybe not first years. I'm not sure if they looked at the curriculum just yet, but there is a whole dedicated section to the can-do goals, both the operative and the global, or the what the student is actually trying to do, and how can you tell if you managed to bring the students to this point. How are you evaluating them? It needs to be not just the students know. How do you know they know? Kind of a tongue twisters. You need to identify, okay, I want them to write 3 sentences using 3 different words from the new vocabulary in the right context, just for example. So in the curriculum, you start with, okay, where do I want to get with the students? What do I want to give them, and how do I want them to use it? And then how do you evaluate it as well? And it's a very important element, which is non-negotiable.
Exactly. So we have like few more minutes, so we will briefly explain about the importance of the students' awareness and involvement. In this course, we learned that the students must know how they are evaluated, what is the process of assessment that they are going through, for them to be more involved in their learning processes. Because once, and of course it happens to us as well as students, because in each and every task that we got from Irena, we got the rubrics, and as it helped us know what to pay attention to and how to construct our work for it to align with those rubrics, our students need to know that as well. Once we make our students aware and involved, the process becomes active for them as well. They're not sitting and like waiting for us to do something. They are involved in their own learning process, which makes it much more meaningful.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, we have the backwards design, which also is kind of a running theme throughout the college experience. But like in the graph you see in the first point, we don't start out with the test. Okay, this is the test, these are the questions, and I need to break it down to what I need to teach the students throughout the year. No, you don't start from the end. Oh, you kind of start with, okay, where do I want to get the students again? I want them to be able to use the language in the right context. I want them to be able to introduce themselves. And then you go back throughout the stages. How do I get them there? So you start from the end, not the test, but the goal. And then you go back and build the teaching, the assessment, and the test.
Exactly. So that was our experience.